Thank you all for coming. The event today is being sponsored by a number of different groups and organizations and individuals. Primary are Northeast Area Labor Council, Loaves and Fishes, Veterans for Peace, Grandmothers for Peace, Move to Amend, Northland Anti-War Coalition, Socialist Action, and then also just a group of private individuals and citizens and so forth that are concerned about where our taxes go. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is where our taxes are going and where do we think they should go. What kind of priorities do we want to set as a society? If you haven't voted, come on over and vote at our little display over here. We've been circulating that around the city, and Donna's going to talk to us about that in just a few minutes here. Today's tax day, and of course most people take that as a negative thing. This is the day that we have to get our tax returns in, and oh my God, it's such a terrible burden to do that, etc., etc. Perhaps we should refer this as Tax Appreciation Day rather than Tax Day. We believe that government is necessary. Government is good. The public goods, the services, the infrastructure that we get from government are all vital to the economy and to our individual lives. Taxes are how we come together as a community to meet these vital needs. So taxes are good. They are the dues we pay for civilization. They are the dues we pay for civilization. And so we should be patriotically paying our taxes. Taxes and the budgets that come from those and our public spending are a reflection of our values as a people. What does it say about the values that we hold as a people and as a nation when we spend 55% of our federal budget on war and the military? We only spend 3% on diplomacy, international relations, and foreign aid. 3% for diplomacy, 55% for war. What does it say about us as a people that we're cutting the CHIP program, which is children's health insurance program, at the same time we're wasting money on Mars landings and Mars rovers and tax breaks and subsidies for the richest corporations in the world, the oil companies? I mean, that tells us our cuts and budget cuts to our domestic programs are not necessary. We are not in some sort of budget crisis. We do not have to worry about these programs. We can pay for these programs. We have alternatives to cutting our vital public services. We can fix our budget deficits, and we can do it relatively easily. We can set better priorities for our tax dollars and our public spending. We can end tax breaks, subsidies, and loopholes. We can also reduce our military spending to a more reasonable amount, and we can do it and still be safe. Well, you'll have to wait. You're going to do okay as well. Business community will do just fine in that situation. We know that because Minnesota has been showing us the way. They've been showing us how to do it. Governor Dayton came to the people of Minnesota with an honest program of raising the necessary revenues to make government work in Minnesota. And what has been the result? Did business dry up and blow away? Did the world come to an end? Yes. Actually, Minnesota is doing rather well in recovering from the 2008 meltdown that was caused by Mr. Moneybags over here. Wisconsin, on the other hand, has taken the other direction. They have adopted the mean-spirited, negative, destructive, short-sighted, trickle-down mantra, and where has it gotten us? Nowhere. Wisconsin is doing worse than almost any other state in the nation. So we do have models as to what works and what does not work. We are here today to tell our public leaders that we want to see better priorities, that we want to see the needs of our people put first. We're here today to call on our neighbors and our friends and our co-workers to get active in telling their politicians what they want to have happen. We need to wake up, wise up, and show up to the political process. Democracy is not a spectator sport. We're also here today to announce the results of our poll that we've been doing. And Donna, you want to come up and tell us about the poll? We've had an online poll, and we've had a visual poll here that's been circulating around the community. And Donna's going to tell us about those and what's happened with it. You have to speak pretty close in.
Okay. Hi, happy Tax Day. Well, listen, we had a wonderful time with this. This sign has been around town for a week, and probably 400 people have voted by putting the beans that represent $1.16 trillion into the categories of the discretionary budget. There are 12 categories to the discretionary budget. They're all identified in these tubes, and people were very careful about distributing beans according to their priorities. Now, obviously, this is not a statistically viable survey. It is not a scientific instrument. It has been a wonderful democratic dialogue about priorities and values. We've had wonderful conversations all around town this week. So what you see is about people's values. It compares one category to another, which people consider more important, and it compares the way we would like our money spent to the way the government is planning to spend it. So those are the two comparisons made here. Now, with 400 people voting, you can imagine these tubes have been full more than once. So you're not looking at the total number of beans that were used in the survey. You're looking at what we took out and carefully measured and made it proportional to each other. So this is a bar graph representing the votes of Duluthians. There is a very clear winner, and that's education. This education tube overflowed and had to be emptied twice and then filled up a third time. People really want good education in the United States. So that was an outcome that we feel really good about. Medicare and health care and energy environment are also winners. People wanted an investment in those areas. Yeah. People cared about food and agriculture, science, Social Security, labor and unemployment, and community and housing and community and vets benefits. Kind of in the middle bracket. They want all of those things funded. We need them. Now, the lowest three categories are transportation, which kind of surprised me. Everybody's been talking about infrastructure, but still that doesn't seem the highest thing to people. Transportation, international affairs, and government are the lowest three categories. Doris points out that government needs a new PR manager. And the fourth lowest category was the military. on the right here is what people put into military, recognizing that they feel we need a military, but not giving it priority over the human service categories at all. And I think that's very clear. In the online survey, it asked people to rate these categories 1 through 12, just say which is the most important category to them and the lowest. And 85% of people voted that military was the 12th out of 12. This is the $1.16. This is the way the government proposal stands right now. 1% to food and agriculture, 2% to transportation, 3% to science, international affairs, energy and environment, 5% to Social Security, Medicare, and housing, and 6% to government, vets, benefits, and education. 6% is the highest any other category gets except military, which is 55.2%. Most people went around to the back of the sign, looked at it, and went, oh. They were disgusted or at least disappointed. They were surprised. How do you feel about it? This is not what you voted, not what you'd like to see, is it? And I wish this were the way we decided how to spend a discretionary budget, the other side of this sign, because people were working hard at saying what priorities would make life in the United States good. And I think the backside doesn't represent that, and I hope you'll tell your government more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Without a doubt, it's pretty clear that the priorities being set by Congress, and the process is going on right now in Congress. So you can still weigh in with that by calling and writing your legislators. Now to get more of a local slant on these issues, we have Reverend Dr. David Bard from the First Methodist Church, Coppertop Church.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I'm not sure how much it's a local perspective because it's my perspective in some ways. I mailed my taxes in this week. Mailed them this week. I'm old enough to mail them. But as a clergy person, not only do I mail my taxes in once a year, I pay estimated taxes, which means when I pay my taxes, I sit down and literally write checks to the United States Treasury and to the state of Minnesota. And I do that with a sense of pride, even if I swallow hard sometimes. I love the ideals our country stands for, and I appreciate all those times when we embody those ideals, however imperfectly we do so. Ideals of freedom to create and pursue happiness, ideals of justice, of peace, of the common good, or as the preamble to the Constitution talks about it, general welfare. Those are wonderful values, deeply held moral ideals. And such ideals are worthy of defense. So we also need to provide for the common defense. But what do we do when definitions of providing for the common defense damage the general welfare, when they fail to promote the blessings of freedom for us, for our children, and for our grandchildren? Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. Those are not my words, they're the words of former General and President Dwight Eisenhower, spoken in April 16, 1953, the day after Tax Day in 1953. They're stark words, and perhaps exaggerated words, but they make an important point. When our definitions of the common defense damage the general welfare, when they fail to promote the blessings of freedom for us and for our children and our grandchildren, and as a pastor I see that there are people who are hungry and not being fed, in need of housing and clothing. When we spend more on defense in ways that damage the general welfare, then we have work to do. We have to think again about our national priorities, our national budget, because our budget reflects our values. We need to think again so as to understand that security is more than tanks and guns and missiles. In a speech he gave in January 1944, President Franklin Roosevelt asserted, "Unless there's security here at home, there cannot be lasting peace in the world." And security for Roosevelt entailed what he called a second Bill of Rights: the right to a useful and remunerative job in the industries or shops or farms or mines of the nation, the right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation, the right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him and his family a decent living, the right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. Sorry for the monopoly reference there. The right of every family to a decent home, the right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health, the right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, and unemployment, the right to a good education. The taxes we pay today and all through the year need to be used wisely and well. And some of us on a regular basis see that there are people in need, see that there are people with inadequate sources of employment and income to provide for themselves and for their families. The taxes we pay need to reflect the priorities of the common good. The taxes we pay need to show that we understand that security is not only about defense, but also about housing and food and clothing and education and work and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Bard, for that good talk. We're now going to have a younger input, I guess, or view on these issues. Sometimes we go, all these protests we go to, it's all us old hippies from the 60s, and it's nice to have younger people getting involved. And we have today Ms. Classy Dudley. She's a UMD student and is going to come and talk to us about her perspective on these issues.
All right, so a little bit about me. I am a student. I will be graduating here soon, and I am up to here with debt, as you probably already know. So I really appreciate a lot of people putting in the education form that we need more of our tax dollars to go to our education, especially here in Duluth. We have a lot of money that people want to put in education but aren't able to because we aren't getting our voices heard. Now, I'm really big on talking about what is wrong with the environment today that we live in within our government and even our city here. But today I want to focus more on what we can do. So, funny thing here is you say, I'm young, I'm African American, I fit in a diverse category, but if you look today, if you look to your left and you look to your right, we're not a diverse group right here, right now. We need to get those people who can't come here today. What is today? Wednesday, in the middle of the day. A lot of people can't take off work right now to come and support this cause. A lot of people who need to be here can't or don't have the opportunity to come. They're in school or they're working or they can't afford to take off the day to do this. We need to start educating these people to really take the time and to at least put in a vote to get their voice heard. We need to take that opportunity to know who those people are, go knock on those doors and make them informed that we are here today. I know all of us here today are either have a very strong opinion about this or is educated in this idea of less military and more education. I would like to see that, but we need action. We need to get the youth involved. We need to get a diverse group to help us along with this. This group right here today, why is great, we need to become greater. Thank you. I would like to see us all come together and really hold the people who are in the representative area, who are in city council, who are in any kind of running for any kind of race, to be held accountable to changing that military to this education. I would like to see us, there's 3 different races coming up. We have the mayor's race, we have a school board race, and we have the city council race. We are here at City Hall. Where are they now? Where are the people? There you are, Charla. Good to see you. But we need you to stick around then. We need to see those people to really tell them that this is what we want, and we need to be serious about it. We have a bunch of opportunities to let them know what we want. And we can do it today, we can do it tomorrow, we can do it when they're in office. But let's stop the problem before they get in office and try and hold them accountable for the actions that they will or will not do. Yeah. So my ideas today were I could talk about how I'm up to my knees in debt. I could talk about how I need a tax break. I could talk about how I don't think we are spending the money right, but I'd much rather gather support, gather people, go knock on doors, and go stop this this action of our money being spent somewhere we don't want it to be spent. If I don't want to spend my money at a store, I'm not going to go to that store. My money is not going to military if I need it to go in education, period. I really need us to start getting together. We need to start planning. We need to start spending our money smart and less on material items and less on big corporations and more on things that are going to get us farther in life. But I appreciate you all for being here today. I think we need to get more of you guys here today. I think we need to get a lot more of the younger folks here. They need to be talking. We need to get up. We need to get rejuvenated, and we need to get going. Thank you.
Thank you, Classy, for it. And definitely we need to be doing more. Like I said, if we could get our population to wake up, wise up, and show up, it'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it? Zach, would you like to come up? Zach Cias from Northeast Area Labor Council, the area central labor body, and give us your shake on things.
Great, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. All right, thank you for coming out on such a beautiful day today. My name is Zach Cias. I'm field coordinator at the Northeast Area Labor Council, and we represent about 140 different unions. That's approximately 40,000 union members in Northeast Minnesota. We all know that corporate influence in our political structure has caused it so that the 1% are being favored and represented more than working class people. And we know that it's because of money. And we know that when we look at the budget priorities, that those corporations aren't wasting their money when they buy politicians, that they're doing it so that they can get a bigger slice of the pie. Now, one thing that I want to highlight today, we've already talked about the inequity in education and where the money is being wasted. But we have these free trade agreements that have just decimated America's middle class. And right now in Congress, there's something called the Trans-Pacific Partnership and proposed legislation called Fast Track that would allow Congress to essentially abdicate their responsibility and allow the administration to vote on this and negotiate this for them, and Congress just gives it a simple up or down vote. Now, in our region, at the end of next month, we'll have 1,100 steelworkers laid off in the Keetac and Mintac mines up on the Iron Range. To put that in perspective, that's approximately, it'd be like if 20,000 people were laid off in one day in the Twin Cities. Our region can't sustain that. And when you have 600 global corporations negotiating with the world powers to benefit them, we will just continue to see our educational system and opportunities for working people go out the window. The American dream needs to be reevaluated, and we need to make sure that we come together and talk with all of our neighbors and coworkers to fight and make sure that we're being heard. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Zach. And certainly we have lots of problems in that area, especially over in Wisconsin, where I'm from as well. In Minnesota, you're fortunate that you do have a representative here who gets the right message, who's on the right track. And John Pegg is going to talk to us about Representative Nolan and his positions.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, we were expecting a statement from Representative Nolan. Suffice it to say, Representative Nolan has a strong track record of favoring reductions in military spending and reallocation of funds to reduce our budget deficit, as well as to support human service and people's needs in local communities. So I want to affirm that. I also want to affirm that Representative Nolan has in the past supported legislation to reverse Citizens United. And my understanding is he's going to try to reintroduce legislation to that effect. So he is in opposition to the influence of corporate monies in our electoral process. And so we need to give thanks to Representative Nolan for his stand and support, and particularly in terms of reducing military spending overall and trying to get corporate influence out of our politics. So thanks to Representative Nolan for that.
I believe Representative Nolan also voted for the people's budget. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Member of the Progressive Caucus.
Right. In Congress, the Progressive Caucus has put out a people's budget for a number of years now that reflects more of these kinds of priorities. Unfortunately, it doesn't go very far in the legislative process. Well, thank you all for coming today. You know, we've tried to do what we can to bring these issues to the public and to our legislatures. As Classy was saying, we need to do what we need to do as citizens to make this happen. What can we do? Well, you can educate yourself about the issues, and there's a number of very good websites out there. I would refer you to the National Priorities Project. Just Google it, National Priorities Project. There's also an excellent site called Government is Good. Very simply, Government is Good. If you Google it, it'll come up. It's a really nice site. Join groups. Get involved with your neighbors, whatever the group may be. Move to Amend, Grandmothers for Peace, the League of Women Voters. I mean, whatever the group is, get involved with your local community. Organize. And most of all, call, write, email your elected representatives. It's easy to do. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to your relatives. It's not impolite to talk about politics if you're not being impolite in the way you do it. These are the things we have to do. So thank you for coming today. It's getting to be a little chilly. And we want to thank especially Loaves and Fishes for their wonderful work on the display here. Let's give them a round of applause. And that would be Donna and Wally and who else? Kelly and Chelsea as well. Thank you for all your help with their surveys.